إذ قال لأبيه وقومه ما هذه التماثيل التي أنتم لها عاكفون.
Recall when he said to his father and his people, "What are these images to which you are devoutly clinging?"
54. Before proceeding further, it should be kept in mind that the incident from the history of Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, has been cited here to refute the erroneous creeds of the Quraysh. This was meant to hit them hard, for they were the descendants of Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, and were proud of their relationship with him. It was he who had built the Kaaba, which had become the center of the entire Arabia, and they, being its keepers, were its most important clan. Therefore, they could not remain indifferent to this answer.
قالوا وجدنا آباءنا لها عابدين.
They answered, "We found our fathers worshipping them."
قال لقد كنتم أنتم وآباؤكم في ضلال مبين.
He said, "Certainly, you and your fathers have all been in manifest error."
قالوا أجئتنا بالحق أم أنت من اللاعبين.
They said, "Are you expressing your true ideas before us, or are you jesting?"
55. The literal translation will be, "Are you presenting the truth before us, or just playing with us?" They were so sure of the truth of their creed that they could never imagine that anyone could be serious in declaring it to be false.
قال بل ربكم رب السماوات والأرض الذي فطرهن وأنا على ذلكم من الشاهدين.
He said, "Nay, but your Lord is the Lord of the heavens and the earth which He created, and to that I bear witness before you."
وتالله لأكيدن أصنامكم بعد أن تولوا مدبرين.
By Allah, I shall certainly carry out my plan against your gods after you are gone.
56. That is, if you do not understand this by argument, I will present a practical proof that these idols are helpless and have no powers. Therefore, it is wrong to make them your deities.
فجعلهم جذاذا إلا كبيرا لهم لعلهم إليه يرجعون.
Then he broke them all into pieces, sparing only the supreme one among them, that they may possibly return to him.
57. This was that practical proof. In the absence of the priests and attendants, Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, entered their central temple and broke all the idols to pieces. 58. The pronoun in the original text may be translated into it or him. In the former case, it will refer to the chief idol, and in the latter to Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him. In the first case, it will imply a subtle sarcasm in order to make them realize that their creed of idol worship was foolish, for obviously the chief idol could not break the minor idols. In the second case, it will refer to Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, who thought that they might turn to him about the incident and he might get an opportunity to have a frank talk with them about their absurd creed.
قالوا من فعل هذا بآلهتنا إنه لمن الظالمين.
When they saw the idols in this state, they said, "Who has done this to our gods? Surely he is one of the wrongdoers."
قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم.
Some of them said, "We heard a youth called Abraham speak ill of them."
قالوا فأتوا به على أعين الناس لعلهم يشهدون.
The others said, "Bring him then before the eyes of the people, that they may see what will be done to him."
59. This was exactly what Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, expected to happen. He wished that the matter should not remain confined to the priests and the attendants, but the common people also should be present there to witness that their deities were helpless and their priests were deluding them about their powers. The priests committed the same folly as was later committed by Pharaoh when he arranged an encounter between Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, and the magicians in the open in front of the multitudes of the common people, and the former got an opportunity to show publicly the miracle of the staff which shattered the illusory, magical tricks of the magicians.
قالوا أأنت فعلت هذا بآلهتنا يا إبراهيم.
On Abraham's arrival, they said, Abraham, peace be upon him, are you he who has done this to our gods?
قال بل فعله كبيرهم هذا فاسألوهم إن كانوا ينطقون.
He answered, rather, it was this Supreme One who has done it. So ask them if they can speak.
60. The very sentence, so ask them, if they can speak, is a clear proof that it was not a lie when Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, said, but this has done it, biggest of them, this one. What he intended by this was to make them realize and confess that their idols were helpless because they could do nothing to protect themselves and could not even speak. It is clear that when a person poses an unreal question for the sake of argument in order to bring home the fact that the position taken by the other party is untenable, it cannot be considered as a lie. Firstly, because the speaker himself never intended it to be a lie, and secondly, because the addressees also knew that it was not a lie. The foregoing remarks have been necessitated because of a tradition that Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, told 3 lies in his life, of which one is the above-mentioned event. The second lie is contained in Surah As-Safat, Ayat 89, I am indisposed, and the third lie is not contained in the Quran but in the Bible that he declared his wife to be his sister. General 12:12, 13, 18, 19. It is a pity that this tradition has given rise to 2 divergent opinions. The orthodox traditionalists actually believe that Prophet Abraham told these lies just because an authentic tradition says so. They do not consider that it is far better to discard the tradition according to which a prophet is accused of being a liar. On the other hand, those who are against the traditions, discard all of them just because the solitary tradition, which has been reported as authentic by Bukhari and Muslim, is unreliable on the very face of it. Obviously it needs no elaborate arguments to prove that all the traditions cannot be discarded just because one or a few of them are unreliable. As regards the upholders of the first opinion, they have gone to the other extreme and think that a tradition can be discarded in spite of the authenticity of its reporters for cogent reasons. They do this without reference to the contents of the tradition itself. But if the text of the tradition itself clearly shows that such a thing could not have been said by the Prophet, peace be upon him, there is no reason to insist that it should be accepted as authentic merely because its reporters are authentic. This tradition is unreliable for other reasons also. As has already been shown, the first lie is no lie at all. As regards the second lie, I am indisposed, it cannot be considered as a lie unless it is proved beyond doubt that Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, was perfectly healthy at that time, and the text does not testify this. As regards the third lie, the event stated in the Bible in chapter 12 of Genesis is absurd on the face of it. When Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, went to Egypt with his wife Sarah, he was, according to the Bible itself, 75 years old and his wife was 65. Therefore the very age of Sarah is a clear proof that she could not be a fair woman to look upon to force Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, to pose that she was his sister in order to save his life. The tradition under discussion, which accuses Prophet Abraham to be guilty of telling a lie, has accordingly no basis at all and cannot be taken as reliable in spite of its authentic reporters.
فرجعوا إلى أنفسهم فقالوا إنكم أنتم الظالمون.
Thereupon they turned to their inner selves and said to themselves, surely it is you who are the wrongdoers.
ثم نكسوا على رؤوسهم لقد علمت ما هؤلاء ينطقون.
Then their minds were turned upside down, and they said, "You know well that they do not speak."
61. Literally the original text means, they were turned down upon their heads. Some commentators have interpreted it to mean, they hung down their heads with shame. But this does not fit in the context and the wording of the text. The right interpretation would be, when they considered the answer of Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, they realized that they themselves were in the wrong, because they had set up helpless idols as deities, which could not even speak a word as to who had broken them. But soon after this, they were overpowered by obduracy and ignorance which perverted their minds, and they again relapsed into crookedness.
قال أفتعبدون من دون الله ما لا ينفعكم شيئا ولا يضركم.
Abraham, peace be upon him, said, "Do you then worship beside Allah a thing that can neither benefit you nor hurt you?
أُفٍّ لكم ولما تعبدون من دون الله أفلا تعقلون.
Fie upon you, and upon all that you worship beside Allah. Do you have no sense?"
قالوا حرقوه وانصروا آلهتكم إن كنتم فاعلين.
They said, "Burn him, and come to the support of your gods if you are going to do anything."
قلنا يا نار كوني بردا وسلاما على إبراهيم.
We said, "O fire, become coolness and safety for Abraham."
62. Though this is one of those miracles which have been clearly stated in the Quran, there are people who try to prove that there was no such miracle at all. According to this passage, ayat 68 to 70, Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, was actually threatened to be burnt alive, and he was accordingly thrown into the burning fire, but Allah ordered the fire to become cool and harmless for him. In the face of the clear words of the Quran, these people deny this miracle because according to them it is impossible even for Allah to go beyond the routine of the physical laws. They say that miracles cannot appeal to the rationalists of the modern age, and therefore these should be interpreted in accordance with physical laws. They forget that according to the Quran, Allah is able to do everything, and He does extraordinary and unusual things which cannot be explained by science. Therefore they should accept the Quran as it is or discard it, but they should not twist it to suit their so-called rationalism.
وأرادوا به كيدا فجعلناهم الأخسرين.
They had sought to do evil to him, but we caused them to be the worst losers.
ونجيناه ولوطا إلى الأرض التي باركنا فيها للعالمين.
And we saved him and Lot, peace be upon him, and brought him to the land upon which we had bestowed our blessings for all the people of the world.
Point 63. According to the Bible, Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, had two brothers, Nahor and Haran. Prophet Lot was the son of Haran, general. 1126, and he was the only person to believe in Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him. Surah Al-Ankabut, ayat 26. 64. The blessed land refers to Syria and Palestine, which contains both material and spiritual blessings. It is one of the most fertile regions in the world. Moreover, it was blessed for 2000 years with more prophets than any other region of the world.
وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ نَافِلَةً وَكُلًّا جَعَلْنَا صَالِحِينَ.
And we bestowed upon him Isaac and Jacob, peace be upon them, as an additional gift, making each of them righteous.
65. That is, we made his son a prophet and his grandson too.
And we bestowed upon him Isaac and Jacob, peace be upon them, as an additional gift. Not only was Abraham's son Isaac invested with prophethood, but later on also his grandson Jacob, peace be upon them.
وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ وَإِقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ وَإِيتَاءَ الزَّكَاةِ وَكَانُوا لَنَا عَابِدِينَ.
And we made them into leaders to guide people in accordance with our command. And we inspired them to good works, and to establish prayers, and to give zakah. They worshipped us alone.
66. This important event of the life of Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, has found no mention whatever in the Bible. In fact, nothing about his life in Iraq, his conflict with Nimrod, his father and the community at large, his efforts to eradicate idolatry, the incident of his being cast into the fire, which ultimately led to his forced exile from the country, is mentioned anywhere in the Bible. The Bible merely mentions his migration, and that too, in a manner as if a family was migrating from one country to another in search of livelihood. There is another interesting difference between the Quran and the Bible. According to the Quran, the father of Abraham, who was a mushrik, was foremost in tyrannizing over his son, but the Bible gives a different account, which is as follows. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran begat Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren, she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees, to go into the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran, and settled there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. General. 11:27-32. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And one will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. General. 12:1-3. The Talmud, however, gives quite a few details about the life of Prophet Abraham. Son of Haran, General. 11:26, and he was the only person to believe, peace be upon him, about the period of his stay in Iraq, which are generally the same as given in the Quran, but there is a glaring discrepancy in some of the important events. In fact, one can clearly feel that the account given in the Talmud is full of heterogeneous and hypothetical things, while the one given in the Quran is most clear and contains nothing unworthy of Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him. We reproduce below the account as given in the Talmud so that the reader may know the difference between the Quranic and Jewish versions. This will also remove the misunderstanding of those who think that the Quran has borrowed stories from the Bible or Jewish literature. According to the Talmud, the wise men saw a large star in the sky on the night Abram was born, and they advised Nimrod to kill the child born in the house of Terah. The king decided to kill the child, but Terah hid his child and had a servant's son killed in exchange. Terah thereupon hid his wife and child in a cave where they lived for 10 years. In the 11th year Abram was taken by Terah to Noah, where he lived under the guidance of Noah and his son Shem for 39 years. During the same period Abram married his niece Sarai, who was 42 years his junior. The Bible does not mention that Sarai was the niece of Abram. Moreover, the difference in their ages is mentioned as 10 years. General. 11:29, 17:17. The Talmud then says, Abram left Noah at the age of 50 and came back to his father. Here he found that his father was in idolatry and had 12 idols in the house according to the 12 months of the year. He tried to preach to his father against idolatry, but when the latter did not listen to him, Abram one day broke all the idols in the house. Seeing this, Terror went straight to Nimrod and complained that the son who was born in his house 50 years ago had misbehaved and broken the idols. He wanted the king's verdict on this. Nimrod summoned Abram for interrogation, but the replies given by Abram was straight, terse and clear. Nimrod sent him to jail and then referred the matter to the council for a decision. The council decided that Abram should be burnt to death. A fire was accordingly prepared and Abram was cast into it. His brother and father-in-law Haran was also similarly cast into the fire. Haran was punished because Nimrod inquired of Terror as to why he had another child killed in place of Abram when he wanted to kill Abram on the day of his birth. Terror replied that this was done at the instigation of Haran. Nimrod accordingly let off Terror but threw Haran into the fire along with Abram. Haran was burnt to death instantly, but people saw that Abram was walking unhurt through the flames. When Nimrod was informed of it, he witnessed it with his own eyes and cried out, "O man of the God of heaven, come out of the fire and stand before me." Thereupon, Abram came out and Nimrod became one of his believers and gave him many costly presents. After this, according to the Talmud, Abram stayed in Iraq for 2 more years when Nimrod saw a dreadful dream and the astrologers told him that the destruction of his empire would come through Abram and that he should, therefore, put him to death. Nimrod sent people to kill Abram, but Abram came to know of the plot beforehand through Elazar, a slave presented to him by Nimrod himself. Abram accordingly fled and took refuge with Noah, where Terror also met him off and on secretly. The father and the son at last decided to leave the country, and Noah and his son Shem also approved of their plan. Accordingly, Terror along with his son Abram and his grandson Lot and his granddaughter and son's wife Sarai, left her and went to Haran. H. Polano, The Talmud Selections, London, pp. 30-42. Can a reasonable person after reading this account of the Talmud ever imagine that this could be a source book for the story as given in the Quran?
وَلُوطًا آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْقَرْيَةِ الَّتِي كَانَتْ تَعْمَلُ الْخَبَائِثَ إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَوْمَ سَوْءٍ فَاسِقِينَ.
We bestowed upon Lot sound judgment and knowledge, and we delivered him from the city that was immersed in foul deeds. They were indeed a wicked people, exceedingly disobedient.
67. The original Arabic word hukm is very comprehensive. It means judgment, wisdom and discretion, and authority from Allah. Ilm stands for the revealed knowledge of the truth. Thus, we bestowed hukm and ilm on Lot. We appointed Lot as a prophet. For the story of Lot, see Surah Al-Araf, ayats 80-84, Surah Yunus, ayats 70-83, Surah Al-Hijr, ayats 57-74, and the ends thereof.
وَأَدْخَلْنَاهُ فِي رَحْمَتِنَا إِنَّهُ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ.
And we admitted him into our mercy. Verily, he was of the righteous.
وَنُوحًا إِذْ نَادَى مِن قَبْلُ فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ فَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ مِنَ الْكَرْبِ الْعَظِيمِ.
We bestowed the same favor upon Noah, peace be upon him. Recall, when he cried to us before, we accepted his prayer and delivered him and his household from the great distress.
68. This refers to Prophet Noah's, peace be upon him, prayer which he at last made after having tried his utmost to reform his people. Lord, help me, for I have been overpowered. Surah Al-Qamar, Ayat 10, and Lord, do not leave even a single disbeliever on the earth. Surah Nuh, Ayat 26. 69. Great affliction may either refer to living a miserable life among the wicked people, or to the flood. For the story of Prophet Noah, see Surah Al-Araf, Ayats 59-64, Surah Yunus, Ayats 72-74, Surah Hud, Ayats 25-48, and Surah Al-Isra, Ayat 3, and the ends thereof.